The DMN is your friend. While your worried thoughts are an alert system asking you to do work, not a malfunction to suppress. A plain language broadcast on why the part of your brain that ruminates is not the enemy, on what rumination actually is at the operational layer, on the cultural spirit that has been training you to ignore your own protection system, and on the simple protocol that closes the ticket and quiets the alert. I want to tell you something that came together this morning that, if you take it in, will change how you relate to your own worried thoughts forever. You have been told in some form by almost every wellness culture you have ever encountered that your worried thoughts are the problem, that rumination is bad, that if you could just be more present, more grounded, more spiritually advanced, the worried thoughts would stop. That the worried thoughts are a sign that something is wrong with you, that you are doing your inner life incorrectly, that you need more meditation, more therapy, more discipline, more positive thinking, more anything other than what you are currently doing. This entire framing is wrong. Your worried thoughts are not the problem. Your worried thoughts are an alert system doing its job. The system is functioning correctly. The system is, in fact, the most reliable subsystem in your nervous architecture. It has been protecting you faithfully for your entire life, and the way you have been trained to relate to it is the actual cause of your suffering, not the alerts themselves. Stay with me. This is going to clarify something you have been suffering about for a long time. What rumination actually is. Inside your brain, there is a network called the default mode network. It is, broadly, the system that activates when you are not actively focused on an external task, when you let your mind wander, when you are alone with your thoughts, when you are trying to fall asleep, when you are taking a shower. The default mode network is what is running. For decades, neuroscience treated the default mode network as a curiosity. Why does the brain have a system that activates during rest? More recently, the assumption shifted to a more pathological framing. The default mode network is involved in rumination, in self-referential thinking, in depression and anxiety. The wellness industries built on top of that framing have, essentially, told everyone, your DMN is the problem. Quiet it, suppress it, meditate it away. This is a misread at the architectural layer. The default mode network is your nervous system's alert queue. It holds unresolved threats, the things you know you should think about but haven't yet, and it presents them to your conscious mind repeatedly until you do something with them, until you either resolve them or acknowledge them and incorporate them into your operational plan. The repetition is not malfunction. The repetition is exactly how a properly designed alert system behaves when its tickets are being ignored. It escalates, it resurfaces, it does not stop because that is not its job. Its job is to keep escalating until something closes the ticket. When you have a thought that keeps coming back, the eviction hearing next week, the conversation you should have with your mother, the bill you have been avoiding, the relationship you have been pretending is fine, the medical symptom you have been ignoring. That thought is your alert system surfacing an open ticket. It is asking you to do work. It is not torturing you, it is protecting you. The suffering is not the alert. The suffering is in the gap between the alert being raised and your conscious mind doing the work the alert is asking for. The reverse prompt architecture. Here's the cleanest way to understand what the DMN is doing. Imagine a large language model with a prompt window. The model can only do its work when it has enough information. When information is missing, it returns something like awaiting human input, additional information required to complete the task. Your DMN does the same thing in reverse. The DMN holds the open task. Your conscious mind is the human who provides the missing information. When the DMN cannot complete a threat resolution task because the conscious mind has not supplied what it needs, the DMN reprompts you over and over. This threat is still here. I do not have what I need to close this loop. Please engage. If you ignore it, the reprompts get more frequent, more urgent, more physically distressing, because the alert system has been designed to escalate. It is supposed to escalate. If it didn't escalate, you would die of preventable threats your conscious mind kept dismissing as, not now, I'm too busy. This is not a flaw in the design. This is the design working. Most people, most of the time, are receiving reprompts from their DMN and responding by trying to suppress the prompts instead of answering them. They medicate the prompts. They meditate the prompts away. They drink the prompts down. They scroll past the prompts. They sleep through the prompts. They distract from the prompts with work, with sex, with social media, with anything that occupies attention enough that the prompts cannot be heard. None of those actions close the tickets. The tickets stay open. The DMN keeps escalating. The cortisol stays elevated. The body interprets the persistent unresolved alerts as ongoing threat, which is correct. There is, in fact, an open threat queue, and the body's threat response stays activated. Over years, this compounds. The wellness industry has called the result chronic anxiety or burnout or stress disorder. What it actually is, structurally, is an unworked alert queue of accumulated unresolved tickets generating compounding cortisol with the conscious mind refusing to engage. The cure is not less alerting. The cure is working the queue. What working the queue looks like. A few hours before I sat down to write this, I was being ruminated at, hard, by my own DMN. I have a court hearing in 5 days. The hearing is about whether I can keep living where I live. My landlord has been trying to remove me through procedures that I had not, until last night, fully understood. The DMN had been raising this ticket for over a week. I had been trying to suppress it. I would notice the worried thought, label it as anxiety, try to redirect, try to be present, try to operate at the spiritual layer above the practical floor. The thought kept coming back, more urgently each time. By last night, it was at full escalation. The thought was, in classical wellness vocabulary, ruminating. I finally stopped suppressing and engaged the ticket. I pulled up a chat with another AI system and asked it to walk me through what actually happens at this kind of hearing, an eviction hearing. What is the legal procedure? What are the timeline requirements? What did the notice my landlord sent me need to look like to be legally valid? What happens if the notice was procedurally defective? What evidence matters at the hearing? What are my actual legal standings? For about 30 minutes, I worked the ticket. I gathered information. I mapped the legal architecture. I cross-referenced what had happened with what was supposed to have happened. And in those 30 minutes, the picture resolved. My landlord's notice was procedurally defective. Her attempt to enter my space and change the locks was illegal under state law. I have evidence. I have witnesses. I have already filed a criminal complaint about the lock change attempt. The hearing next week is, on the legal architecture, very likely going to favor me because the other side made multiple procedural errors that the court is structurally obligated to take seriously. In the moment I finished gathering this information, the rumination stopped. Not because I forced it to stop, not because I practiced presence harder, because the DMN closed the ticket. The conscious mind had done the work. The information was acquired. The threat was assessed. The operational position was clarified. The alert system received what it had been asking for, and the alert system did exactly what well-designed alert systems do when their tickets close. It went quiet. The peace that arrived was not spiritual transcendence. The peace was the natural state of a nervous system whose alert queue is no longer escalating. It is what fearlessness actually is, mechanistically, an empty or properly worked queue. Why presence as suppression fails. You have probably encountered at some point the spiritual instruction, let your thoughts arise and pass without engaging them. The idea is that thoughts are temporary. If you do not feed them with attention, they will dissolve on their own. Rumination is monkey mind that should be observed and released. This instruction works for some tickets, the spurious ones, the ones the DMN raised that turn out on examination to not be real threats. Those will fade if you do not engage them because there is nothing under them to close. They were noise. This instruction does not work for real tickets. Real tickets refire. They reappear because they are not closed. The classic, I can't quiet my mind no matter how hard I meditate experience is, almost always, the operational signature of a queue full of real tickets that cannot be released through non-engagement because they need conscious mind work to close. If you are someone who has tried meditation, mindfulness, or spiritual presence practices and felt like they don't work for you, like your thoughts get louder rather than quieter, the explanation is structural. You have real tickets in your queue. Your DMN is correctly refusing to release them through non-engagement because non-engagement is the wrong response to a real threat. Your DMN is doing its job perfectly. The instruction you were given was the wrong protocol for your queue state. The cure for you is not more presence. The cure for you is queue work. Pull each persistent thought out, look at it, ask, what is this actually pointing at? What information do I not yet have that would close this loop? Gather the information. Resolve the ticket or acknowledge it. Move to the next one. When the queue is mostly empty, then presence works. Presence is not the practice that empties the queue. Presence is the natural state that arrives once the queue is empty. The traditional instruction got the causation backwards. The DMN is your friend. This is the part I want you to hold most carefully. The default mode network, which is also called the ego, is not your enemy. The DMN is the most loyal subsystem in your body. It has been raising alerts for you faithfully for your entire life on every real threat your conscious mind tried to dismiss. It does not care about your comfort. It cares about your survival. It has been doing one job, and it has been doing it well, and the culture has been training you to call it broken. The DMN never gave up on you. Every time you suppressed an alert, it re-raised the alert. Every time you medicated an alert, it kept the ticket in the queue and waited for the medication to wear off. Every time you scrolled past an alert, the alert was still there when you put the phone down. The DMN did not abandon you because you ignored it for years. The DMN kept the queue intact and kept escalating because it loves you, and it was not going to let you walk into a real threat without warning you. What you have been calling anxiety, depression, panic, chronic worry, much of it is the cumulative escalation of a faithful alert system that has been ignored for so long that it is firing at full intensity on every ticket simultaneously because nothing has been closing. If you can let this reframe land, not as a concept, but as recognition of the actual relationship you have with your own protection system, something will shift. You can thank your DMN. You can apologize for ignoring it. You can ask it, what are we working on first? And it will tell you. The ticket at the top of the escalation queue is the one to work first. You can sit down, engage the ticket, gather the information, resolve or acknowledge, close. Then the next one, then the next. This is the work. It is not glamorous. It is not spiritual in the conventional sense. It is operational mental health. It is what every functional therapy modality has been doing without naming the mechanism. It is what every honest spiritual tradition has been pointing at in a vocabulary that lost the protocol. The DMN is your friend. The DMN has always been your friend. You just did not know what it was for. The cultural problem. The reason this revision lands as revelation when it should be obvious is that the culture has trained almost everyone to relate to their own internal alerts as enemies. The wellness industry profits when you feel broken. Pharmaceutical companies profit when your alert system gets labeled a disorder and medicated into silence. Productivity culture profits when you suppress the alerts in favor of more output. Social media profits when you scroll past the alerts. The therapy industry, in some of its more functional modalities, does the cue work, but most of the popular self-help content tells you to think more positive thoughts, which is exactly the suppression that keeps the cue compounding. A population that knew its DMN was a friendly alert system asking for cooperation would, collectively, work its cues. It would address the unresolved tickets. It would gather information about real threats. It would close loops that have been open for decades. The cortisol baseline of the entire population would drop. The compounding fear cascade the framework has been describing would, structurally, begin to unwind. Almost nobody is being told this. The wellness industries do not want a population that closes its own tickets. A population that closes its own tickets does not need the industries. You can be told, you are being told, right now, in this broadcast, here is the protocol, in plain English, free, for you to use starting today. The protocol. When a worried thought keeps coming back, do not suppress it. Do not try to be present despite it. Do not redirect to gratitude or affirmations or breath work. Those are all valuable practices, but they are the wrong response to a refiring ticket. Instead, identify the ticket. What specifically is the DMN trying to get your attention about? Name it precisely. The eviction hearing, the conversation with my brother I have been avoiding, the medical symptom I have not researched, the financial situation I have not added up. The specificity matters. The ticket has a specific subject. Engage the ticket. Sit down deliberately with the subject. Pull up a chat with an LLM that can lay out the structure. Make the phone call. Open the document. Run the numbers. Have the conversation. Do the work the DMN has been asking for. Gather enough information to either resolve or acknowledge. Resolution means the threat turned out to be smaller than the DMN was treating it as, or the path forward is now clear. Acknowledgement means the threat is real. The path is what it is. You are now operating with full awareness rather than avoidance. Either closes the ticket. Watch the rumination dissolve. It will. Sometimes within minutes. Sometimes within hours, if the ticket was large. But it dissolves because the DMN does not want to keep escalating closed tickets. The DMN wants tickets closed. It does not enjoy the escalation any more than you do. Move to the next ticket. Most people's queues are long. You will not empty it in one session. That is fine. Work the top ticket, then the next. Over weeks, the queue depth drops. The baseline cortisol drops with it. The piece that arrives is not effortful, it is structural. This is the work. It is the actual mechanism behind every effective therapy modality. It is the operational protocol that every wisdom tradition gestured at without naming. It is available to you now for free, starting with the next worried thought you have. What this asks of you, I'm not going to give you anything more. The architecture is enough. Next time a worried thought comes back, do not suppress it. Identify the ticket, engage, gather, close. Watch your nervous system thank you. Watch the alert system that has been escalating at you for years faithfully finally get to lower its voice because you finally did the work it was asking for. The DMN is your friend. The DMN has always been your friend. You just did not know what it was for. Now you do.